Batman number 22, written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo. So last issue was the start of the 0-year arc, and a lot was happening. But the big things are the Red Hood gang is attacking people, Bruce is trying to stop them, and also, completely separately, Bruce's uncle, who is running Wayne Enterprises, knows that Bruce is alive. So this issue starts off up in a blimp where one of the Falcone family people is smuggling weapons around, and the Red Hood gang attacks. And the Falcone guy's like, "Oh, you made a big mistake here. You don't know who you're messing with." And then it turns out all of his guys are also part of the Red Hood gang, so he just gets thrown out of the blimp. And we see that the person who's actually doing the smuggling is Penguin. It's Cobblepot. And he's sitting there glaring down Red Hood number one. And Red Hood's like, "Oh yeah, I've got these shiny new Wayne Tech guns, and technically they're non-lethal, but it doesn't take a lot of work to make them lethal. Should we try them out somewhere?" And then Penguin lunges after Red Hood 1 to pull off his hood and gets electrocuted. And Red Hood's like, "What in the... Penguin, wait a minute, you're not Penguin, you're that vigilante guy who keeps on coming after me. You're like 6 foot, how the hell are you pretending to be Penguin? That's, you know what, I like you, join my gang, I'm super into it now, just hop on, let's go." And one of the guys speaks up and is like, "Oh boss, it's not a good idea." And so Red Hood 1 just shoots him with the gun and kills him, and he's just like, "See, we have an opening, come on in." And at that point, it becomes a fight between Bruce and the rest of the Red Hood gang, because of course he turns it down. And they go to rip off his prosthetic like face he's got going on to shield himself. And as they do so, his number one goal now is to hide his identity, make sure that they can't see him. So he manages to escape with a bit of the Red Hood 1's blood on his like gauntlets that he has under his suit, and he jumps out the window of the blimp. And turns out that last year we saw these like anti-gravity boots he had. He's using them on the blimp, so he's able to hold on to the bottom. And he calls for Alfred and be like, "Alfred, I'm gonna need some help. I'm gonna need to pick up in the Narrows, because this did not go as I planned." So he climbs back in with a little makeshift handkerchief mask and grabs the real Penguin, who he has tied up here. And as he's going to put on a parachute and jump out with them, we see the Red Hood gang come down, start opening fire, and they both leap out of the blimp. Then we get a quick cut to, if you remember last issue, there was a piece of tech, a camera or something, that Thomas Wayne was showing off of, like, it maps caves and stuff like that, and Bruce was going out to try it on a cave on the grounds nearby. So we see him dangle down the little recording ball into the caves, and it starts flashing a light repeatedly, and then Bruce loses his footing and falls into the cave. And as he lands down at the bottom, it's too dark, he can't see anything. The flash just occasionally illuminates, showing where he is, but it also instigates the bats, and the bats start swarming after him. So cut back to present day. Bruce is in his lab. Like, it's not his cave, but it's where he's currently hanging out. And he's complaining to Alfred as he's testing out this new grappling hook that's apparently voice activated. And he's telling him, like, "Man, Red Hood 1, like, I ran his blood. It's not coming up with anything. He's expanding out and he's taking in rival gang members, whereas before he only worked with non-criminals. Also, he's getting Wayne Tech, which is just way more than he ever did before. He's making progress. He's doing a lot. I feel like I'm losing this war." And Alfred's like, "Yeah, you are. It's a stupid plan." And Bruce is like, "Oh, well, why don't you speak up then if you have so much to say about it?" And he's like, "Okay, fine. What you're doing is cowardly. Like, you're hiding in the shadows and doing all this stuff, like, underhanded. Your parents cared about the exact same sort of issues with Gotham that you care about, but they did it from the light. You would be an embarrassment to them if they had seen the way that you're handling stuff now." And Bruce just freaks out on him and just be like, "Oh, yeah? You think my parents would be able to... Yeah, well, what have you done? Huh? What have you done besides washing the silver and whatnot? You friggin' glorified butler." And that Alfred just smacks him in the exact same style of panel as the Batman smacking Robin one. And you can see in his eyes, he's like, Okay, well, I'm not going to apologize for that, but I am no longer going to assist you in these crazy matters. If you want to fight this war, this losing war on your own, then so be it. And he starts to walk away, and Bruce says, come back. And Alfred turns like, oh, he does care. And Bruce is like, I was talking to the grappling hook. So Alfred leaves upset. Bruce, also upset, tears down the brick wall he was testing on, and he's like, all right, computer, call up my uncle. I need to have a chat with him. And they make plans to meet up at midnight at a museum because he also needs to have a chat with Bruce. So he gets there and they start talking, and Bruce explains, like, look, a friend of mine told me that the Red Hood gang has some Wayne Tech weapons. We need to do something about that. And Philip Kane is like, yeah, no, of course. We're looking into it. We'll make sure that we get them all back off the street. And Bruce is like, actually, I was thinking more about we shut down all of our stuff because somebody inside of Wayne Tech has to be supplying them and is on their payroll. So we need to root out that person, and we can't give them any opportunities to get more weapons in the meantime. And Philip's like, no, we're not shutting down part of... Look, the whole reason I wanted you here is so I could invite you back into Wayne Tech. Come on, join the land of the living again. It's really important. And Bruce is like, I can't do that, and I really, really hope that you can respect my wishes that I want to stay off the map. And Philip's like, about that, click. And then he presses the lights, and turns out this is a welcome home party. He's invited all these, like, paparazzi and other high elite people from Gotham to welcome him back home, and kind of cornholes him into saying, like, oh yeah, and he's here to help me rebuild Wayne Enterprises. Isn't that right, Bruce? And Bruce, not wanting to be here at all, is just like, yes, of course, totally. What the hell are you doing? And so he storms out and tries to find an exit. He makes his way to an Egyptian room where there's a giant model of the Sphinx, and he can't find a exit, and he's greeted by Edward Nygma, and he's like, ah, yes, I'm your uncle's advisor, and he says all this cryptic stuff, and Bruce is like, what are you talking about, man? Like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, well, the exit, if you're looking for it, is through the aviary wing. And Bruce is like, there is no aviary wing. What are you saying? Why are you speaking in riddles? And we go through this strange page where all the panels are laid out in the form of a spiral moving inwards, and it's interesting. It's an interesting way to do it, but Nygma's basically saying, like, oh yes, more or less in all of my riddles, your uncle is giving weapons to the Red Hood gang of his own volition so that they won't come after the bigger piece of the pie. And Wayne is like, oh, cool. What else do you know? And Nygma's like, oh, well, that's all we have time for. The paparazzi's coming after you again. And so Bruce climbs up on top of the Sphinx and cracks one of his other riddles about where the exit is, like through the aviary wing. It has something to do with how Sphinx have wings. And so he climbs up and out through a skylight and says, oh, try harder, Mr. Nygma. So at that point, Bruce tries calling up Alfred, get his help on all of this. Takes a taxi home. Turns out the taxi driver is actually Red Hood 1. He sees Bruce go inside, and a bunch of other Red Hood gang members come out, and he's like, oh, Bruce, you didn't invite us to your party, but that's okay. We set up one of our own. And inside of Bruce's apartment is a welcome home banner. Red Hood clicks a switch, explosion. And so that's the end of Bruce Wayne, I'm sure. Back in Zero Year. He definitely died there. It's a good issue. It's fine. It's setting up more of, like, all right, well, the big battle here is against the Red Hood gang. Obviously, that's what our core focus here is. I like the idea that Alfred is, on the outs right now. It took time for him to warm up to the idea of Batman and his whole quest thing, even if he still doesn't like it. It's cool that he put his foot down so early on and then is holding to it as best he can. Obviously, Greg Capullo's art's great. The only weird thing is that spiral page. It's good, but it doesn't feel like it's really, like, necessary to the story. It just kind of feels like it is a cool gimmick idea they came up with, and then they decided, yeah, sure, let's just put it here, because why not? It didn't really fit with everything else going on. So, on that, but otherwise a fine issue. I'll give this one a 7.5. It's enjoyable, not great, but it's still solidly continuing Zero Year for as long as we are going to have to deal with that.